A lot of discussion today at our office about the ratifying the contract, which is good. It's nice to actually have discussion about stuff. So I wanted to make this video just because it's a lot easier for me to talk than it is to type, and perhaps maybe even my message will come through better if you even care. If you don't care, then don't watch the video. It's that simple. So I am choosing to not ratify this contract, and I'll get into why I believe that, well, not what you should do. Here's what I do believe you should do. Read it, think for yourself, and make your own decisions. But here's my decision and why I'm going to choose to not ratify the contract and some of my thought process behind it. Let me start by saying I am proud and very glad that we have a national union. I think that our national union officers work very hard, and I respect our national union officers. I don't think they're worthless. I don't think they're a-holes. I don't think any of that. I have a right to vote yes or no on this contract, ratify or reject, and I'm rejecting it. And here's why. I don't believe the financial rewards to the carriers are enough, period. There's a few other things in there I don't like. I don't think the CCAs are making out as well as they might like to think that they are. I don't like the 99 or the route adjustments and the data, because I know, well, we all should know what management does with data. So my opinion, my reasons for rejecting it and not ratifying the contract and asking the union to go back to the drawing board, I think you guys can do better. And I'm willing to go to arbitration if that's the case. And my question to you is, what exactly do you think an arbitrator's job is? Do you think an arbitrator's job is to punish a certain party? Do you think if this goes to arbitration, the arbitrator's going to walk in there and yawn and get mad at the union that we woke him up and made him have to do his job and come in and rule on what contract we should be getting? He's going to punish us? No. It's up to the union to present their best case. And their best case, and what they should argue, in my opinion, probably what they did in negotiating with management, is A, abolish the CCA designation. It's an abysmal, the turnover rate is abysmal. There's no company that turns over employees at the rate we do. And the reason being, if you trust your own Gallup poll that the post office had the Postal Pulse done nationwide, and had the Gallup poll take it over, is because the employees don't feel respected. They don't trust management. They don't feel they're valued. Read the Gallup poll. Use the Gallup poll as your evidence of the culture in the post office, and the CCA turnover rate being just a clear example of people won't put up with how they're being treated. So an arbitrator made the CCA designation in the last contract. I think that they should go for it to be abolished through arbitration. Now, will that happen? Probably not. Probably not. But I don't think the gains in this contract, the financial gains in this proposed contract, are so massive that if it were to go to arbitration, we would lose much. In fact, I think if we went to arbitration, we could present a good enough case to actually get that pay upgrade sooner, not at the end of the contract. We deserve that at the beginning of the contract, retroactive to 2016, the pay upgrade. And I'll tell you why I think the financials are not good enough in a second. I believe even management knows that the way the CCAs have been treated, the pay, the benefitlessness of being a CCA, they can't continue. They're going to run out of people because no one will do this job. $15 and some change is not enough to be walking 12 to 15 miles a day, overburdened, bull-whipped to get done by management. People won't put up with it. And that's why there's a turnover like that. But you use that. You use that in your arbitration. You maybe even use that to distance yourself from the clerks. Now, here's something that I don't know. I'm just supposing. And I don't even know what the clerk designation is for a CCA. Is it an RTA or something? I don't know. Whatever it is. What is their turnover rate? Is their turnover rate 60%? I bet it isn't. I bet you they're still treated poorly, but I bet you the APWU's CCA workforce isn't turned over like the carrier craft, and that's because our job is totally different than a clerk. Deserves higher pay. It is physical. It is physically demanding. It is grueling. Okay? Use that as well to distance yourself from the clerk craft. Everybody thinks, well, we're going to get what the clerks get. And that may be true, but why are we not fighting harder to separate ourselves and say, you need to know who we are as letter carriers and what we do. We don't work in a climate-controlled office, okay? It is brutal. We go through extremes of heat, cold. It takes its toll on our back, knees, shoulders, bodies. Anyway, go to arbitration. I think we should go to arbitration, and honestly, the worst that would happen is that the arbitrator may rule that all those things, I'm simplifying this, but, that he will rule, no, that was a good contract, so you will get your 1.2%, you'll get this, you'll get your pay upgrade in 2018. So in other words, the worst thing, I believe, the worst thing that could happen is that we'll get the contract that we are not ratifying. And you're saying, well, then why go through that? Because, that's why. Because it's not a good enough contract. I'm sorry. Think for yourself. I don't hate the union. I'm not angry at the union. I just don't think it rewards the carriers financially enough. And I'll tell you why. I started in 1987. And I did, because I'm a numbers nut, and I posted this once before, because I'm a numbers nut, in 2006, when we were waiting for a contract, I did these numbers and tried to suppose what we might make at the end of a contract that had not even been negotiated yet. And what I did was I took what our base pay was in 1987, the high base pay, and I just figured out, okay, what's the average annual increases every year from 1987 to 2006? Well, as it turned out, it was about 2.9%. Some years higher, some years less. But in that 20-year span, it was about 2.9%. Okay, so then I just kind of extrapolated that and said, okay, let's say it continues. We don't even have a contract yet. Don't even know the terms of it. I'm doing this in 2006. If it continues at 2.9%, what might we get, by the end of a new contract? And I went every year. What would it be in 2000? Because I didn't know if it would be a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, 10-year, or 12-year contract. I didn't know. So I did it for every year. Well, as it turned out, we got a 2006 to 2011 contract. And at the end of our contract, the reality was, in January of 2011, the top pay scale was $55,530. That was the reality. I had predicted $55,315. I'm off by less than $200. I predicted that in 2006. Not because I'm a genius. I just continue to extrapolate that, okay, if we continue to get 2.9%, well, I went all the way up to 2020, the year that I'm retiring. So I've got 2016 here. In 2016, our top pay rate, and still is, $59,859. We should have been at $63,812 if we continued to go at 2.9%. Now, I understand the financial crisis that hit. Absolutely. I understand the housing bubble and all that, and there was a price to be paid for that. I get it. The mail has dropped. Yeah, the mail has dropped, but the parcels have exploded. They have exploded by double digits every quarter for the past 4 years. Okay? Yes, mail volumes dropped. I get it. So anyway, by the end of 2020, if it continues, at 2.9, if it had continued at 2.9%, we should be at $71,541. Now, this contract takes us to, I believe, September or November. This one that we were voting on takes us to 2019. Oops, my battery's running low. Okay, running low. They're saying we might be around 65,000. And here's something that I don't appreciate that the National did, is that they guessed at what the future COLAs can be. You can't do that. COLAs, you cannot say, and they proposed one would be 500, another would be 500 in this outcome. That's dirty pool, I think. That's deceiving the membership. Because had you done that in the last contract, the one that expired in May of 2016, then you would have told all of us carriers that the last four out of your 5 COLAs, you'll get $0, because that's what we got. So I don't appreciate them putting, if the contract is so good, you don't need to put those, you may get this as a COLA in 2017 and you might get this in 2018, you might get that in 2019, and if you do, it'll be worth 65,000 something. I don't appreciate that. However, I don't believe this financially rewards the carriers enough. I think we need to be in the $67,000 to $68,000 range. It's mostly financials with me, because let's face it, money is what it's all about. Money makes the world go round. We could talk about the data on 99s. We could talk about paying more for health insurance, and that's money. But money makes the world go round. I'm going to keep it simple. Financially, we are not being rewarded enough. We're not making, the guys that deliver only packages make more than us. The guys that deliver packages, medicine, mail, flats, magazines, have a daily presence in a neighborhood, which, by the way, the post office needs to figure out a way to monetize that, because that is an unbelievable, that's priceless. The relationship that we have with our customers. That's something that could be making big money. They need to figure out how to do it. I don't have the answers. I'm not that smart. I'm just a carrier. I'm just a dumb carrier. But I'm voting against the contract because I think, A, we can do just as good in arbitration, and I'm willing to take that risk because I think we could even do better. B, I also want to send a message to the National, not that I'm angry with them, but you don't get an automatic pass. Just because you send me something and think I should vote for it doesn't mean I vote for it. I'm going to look at it, think about it, and I think we all should do the same thing and have a strong argument one way or the other. Why we're voting for it, why we're voting against it. If you're voting for it, don't tell me you're voting for it because I'm an asshole. Don't tell me you're voting for it because you don't know, I don't know what I'm talking about. That's not an argument. Come up, convince me to vote for it. I'll listen. I'll listen. So anyway, I think the CCA designation needs to be abolished, and maybe we need to go before an arbitrator to make that happen, since the arbitrator brought it to us last time based off of the clerks. That's why they did it. Well, the clerk has this designation, for flexibility and blah, 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 and this and that. So you're going to do the same thing. Yeah, but now we have data that has been a failure, that the turnover rate is abysmal, that you can't keep going like this. That's why we need to go back, get rid of the CCA designation, and go back to the PTFs, a more stable workforce, a more reliable workforce. And by the way, this is nothing against the CCAs, the people. This is the designation. You guys aren't getting good benefits. And that hurts all of us. We can't have a two-tier workforce where I get good stuff and you don't. That's not a recipe for success. Okay? So take it to an arbitrator. An arbitrator's job is not to punish. An arbitrator's job is to rule. Present your best case. I think the National can do better. And let's see what happens. As far as this, like the CCA, I'd like to see that position abolished, and I think they should really fight to make that happen, and I think that they could make it happen. And I even believe these gains for these CCAs, I don't want to say the management just gave that to our National. I'm not saying that. I wasn't in those meetings. However, management knows they can't keep going with a workforce like that turns over and over and over again. So they're trying to figure out, well, How can we get a carrier workforce that's more reliable? We want them cheap, cheaper than these old guys like this guy. How do we do it? Well, we might have to give them a few days off. See, I think they even realize we might have to give them a few days off. We might have to do this. We might have to do that. So I think an arbitrator is going to see that also. That's my opinion. For what it's worth, come up with your own, why you're voting for, why you're voting against, and make a video. Let's watch it. Bye-bye.